The day we brought Stella home obviously changed our family dynamics. It really was an eye-opener for me. I got a good insight into how self-absorbed I had become with my illness. And I think it's important for everybody to have a passionate, loving focus in their life. And Stella was that for me. She really gave me a reason to get up in the morning again. Hi, I'm Marika Meeks. I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer, which rocked my world and also my family. I earnestly thought that I was going to die. The odds were not in my favor, and it was a very, very stressful time. I really found myself slipping into a lot of isolation, depression, and anxiety, and also shame. I felt really ashamed that I wasn't coping as well as I thought other people did. And so I really tended to keep that to myself, which kind of furthered my isolation and my depression, and I just kind of got shut off from the world, and I didn't really know how to move forward. Cancer became who I was as a person, and I kind of forgotten who I was and what my life was all about, and I didn't know how to get out of this place. I was really stuck. I decided in an act of defiance that if I was going to have to do radiation, that I was going to ride my bike to radiation every day. So I set about finding a used bicycle, and I ran into this woman who had the bicycle. She opened her back sliding window, and in ran 2 little dogs. I got down on my knees, and one of the little dogs ran up to me, put its little arms right around my waist, and just buried its head into my chest. And I just felt like this energy move through me, and it was like whoosh. I didn't care about the bike anymore. I was fixated on the dog. And I was not looking for a dog. You know, things were so unsettled for me and uncertain. It was like the last thing I could see adding into sort of what was going on. But I felt like this physical shift within me that I needed a dog. That dog already had a home, but that feeling didn't leave me. And I just kept on searching through rescue sites, and finally my husband said, he goes, "Would you just, for the love of God, fill out an application?" And I was like, okay, I will. We went to the adoption event. I was only going to leave that event that day if my dog was there for me. So I went inside, and then in walked Stella. And I looked at her, and here she was, a 7-month-old pup in this chaotic environment. And I went over to her, and she just laid down on her side and wanted me to rub her belly. And I realized at that point that she was the right dog for me. And we pretty much adopted her right on the spot. About the time that I was going through radiation, I didn't realize it, but my youngest daughter was really struggling with anxiety and with depression as well, but I didn't really understand the extent of it until I got a phone call, and I was told that she had left a suicide note and nobody knew where she was. They were able to find her. We talked on the phone. She was obviously, stressed about the experience she was going through, the real possibility that she was going to lose her mom. And we just made a commitment from that day that we would do it one day at a time. If she would hold on one more day, I would hold on one more day, and we would do this together. So when I got back to Indiana, we were all back together again, but there had been so much water that had gone under the bridge that we just couldn't really kind of reconnect and didn't really know how to move forward. And that changed the day we brought Stella home. I'm not kidding when I say when we brought Stella home, Katie and I instantly rebonded as we fell in love with Stella that day. And we've been closer than we've ever been before, and we continue to have a great relationship. And she's a happy, healthy, thriving 19-year-old now that's a freshman in college, and she's a camp counselor, and she openly discusses her experiences with anxiety and depression with other kids to just kind of help them know that they're not alone. It didn't take very long, but I realized the impact that she had on us, she had on other people as well. And we had a duty to share her with the world and with as many people as possible, and that's when we started her Instagram account. Stella's on Instagram, she's on YouTube, she's on Twitter, she's on Facebook, all the usual. She has her own website, obviously. We try and get her out in the community as much as possible, doing public appearances. Maybe it's going to a drug treatment center or visiting nurses at a hospital or elderly patients. And we really want Stella to be that breed ambassador for the much maligned pit bull because she, for us, is just such a shining example of what these throwaway dogs can have to offer us. When we brought Stella home, I had anticipated that she would need, at least 3 or 4 days of being sort of anxious and pacing around the house. And she came home and she didn't even miss a beat. She just seemed like she was home, and that was the end of the story. We obviously have done extensive training with her. She has her Canine Good Citizen certificate through the AKC, and we continue to train ourselves, just one-on-one, always working on new activities and new exposures to different situations. And we work with several professional trainers over the course of having Stella, and we really highly recommend that everybody invests in training. You know, when you adopt a dog, it's not something you just like plug in and when you get home and just start using. For a dog to be a happy and healthy part of your family, they require that training, and everybody will be happier because of it. And your dog, once it knows structure and boundaries in your household, will be a much happier family member as well. Stella is very treat motivated. She will jump through hoops, and she wears a lot of costumes and does a lot of crazy different things, and always very cooperative, and amazingly she's very intuitive to know like what it is I'm asking her to do. But we try to be mindful as well. You know, we don't want to put her in a situation where she's going to be stressed or anxious whenever we can help it. So it kind of becomes that middle ground of what helps tell our story, share our message, and also make Stella a happy and confident pet. Remember, your best friend, your next life changer, is probably waiting in a shelter or a rescue right now. And if you ask Stella and I, we're going to tell you, rescues rock. Adopt, don't shop. We kind of feel like through leveraging Stella's platform, we can not only have, maximize her exposure as a great breed ambassador, but we can help a lot of people and animals, and that's our primary purpose.